Hello everyone, I am Sumit Sahay, Director Seller Partner Services at Amazon India. And I welcome you all to Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge. India has become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, and today, entrepreneurship in India isn't limited to only the top metros. Startups across India have blazed a trail and set new benchmarks for others to follow. Disruptive D2C startups in India have been shaking up the retail landscape as well. And we have been humbled to have been able to play a part in the growth of thousands of such brands in India. Digitization and e-commerce are playing a key role in offering a level playing field for businesses of all sizes and scale by democratizing access to customers across India and globally. Anyone from a home-based entrepreneur or a grassroots innovator to the largest businesses can leverage the digital economy, online marketplaces, and e-commerce to get instant access to millions of customers all over the world. And that's our thought behind Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge. With this competition, our objective has been to reach founders across Indian cities and nurture grassroots innovators from the deepest pockets of the country. It has been amazing to see close to 2,000 strong and diverse startups apply for the Entrepreneurship Challenge. The top 250 out of them participated in a curated mentoring program. In the final leg of the competition, the 5 finalists shared their stories, products, and services with our customers, who then voted for their favorite startup to be named the Startup of the Year. The winners of the Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge will get equity-free grant, market linkages, global exposure, mentoring, rewards, and the opportunity to showcase their business proposition to investors and industry experts. I am excited by the tremendous opportunities that is ahead for these startups, and we look forward to supporting them in their journey. Join us as we take you through some of the key highlights of Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge 2022.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge. Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge is a platform for high potential startups to accelerate their growth and create long-term impact at scale. Now, without further ado, let's begin our first mentoring session of the Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge. And our mentor for today is none other than Dr. Madan Mohan Rao, Research Director at Your Story, who will be mentoring this key session on the art of creating an effective pitch deck. This session is very important for all the startups to proceed with the next steps of the competition, which involves the submission of written pitches and pitch decks for various levels of evaluation. Welcome, Madan, and over to you.
This is the first part, the basic elements of a pitch. Information, importance, emotion, urgency, action in a finite amount of time. Remember, this is a pitch which is limited in time. You're not having an extended lecture or a conversation. So how much time is a good amount of time for a pitch? If we were all in a room, I would ask you all to raise your hands and tell me what you think is a good amount of time for a pitch. Well, guess what? The answer is it depends.
We have a good team of solution architects, and they work closely with you as you start your journey with AWS. So apart from architecture designing, access to all the subject matter experts on various technologies like database or computing or machine learning. We also help you with go-to-market like co-marketing, POC funding, and sales referrals. We'll deep dive into all these as we go further.
Essentially, Launchpad is a brand building program for D2C startups and emerging brands. Like I said, you should have a consumer retail product to sell on the Amazon India marketplace to really benefit from this program. We understand that the needs of this cohort of brand owners are often different from some of the other sellers that we have on the marketplace. And that's the cohort and the needs which this program was born to address.
So what this program focuses on helping you with everything else so that you can just focus on what you do best, that is creating world-class products, right? So if you think about it, like when you want to launch on Amazon or launch on global selling, what are the things that you really need to figure out? First and foremost being what product to sell, because what sells in India might be very different from what sells in US or UK or all the other marketplaces. So our account managers give you that support on what exactly to sell in how much quantity, what should be the pricing, what is the right time, or what are the seasonal events, and how should you launch and how should you plan your entire marketing strategy around it. So all those insights are given through the Amazon account management team, and separately all these insights you'll find on Seller Central as well. So insights on what categories to sell, how much inventory to sell, what kind of deals to run on your product.
One quick learning from there is that as a brand owner, how do I kind of differentiate my brand story on a marketplace like Amazon? Second, how do I grow from there? How do I increase my sales, increase my visibility, discoverability of the products? And then at the end, how do I get information about what customers are saying about my products?
The aim of this part of the session now is how to get the pitch perfect, the ultimate guide. This is called the story canvas for change makers, for founders, for entrepreneurs, and so on. I'm sure you've all heard of the business model canvas. If you haven't, please Google business model canvas and you'll get a very important tool, not just for early stage founders, but for founders at every stage, how to look at the business model of your enterprise. The second very important tool to use is called the value proposition canvas. How do you deliver value from your business to the customer? How do you create value for yourself and deliver value for the customer? This is part number 3, the story canvas. How do you structure your own internal story as a founder and embed elements of this into your pitch deck? So the pitch deck is a Word document, it can be a slide, it can be a video, but there should be some structure of your own personal story inside the professional story of your startup. This is the core focus of my presentation today, which is how to structure your own internal, personal, professional story and deliver it in a very compelling way, which you can embed into a presentation, tell it by itself, share it on social media, in chat forums, in discussion networking sessions, and so on. As you can see, there are 3 parts. So there's a flow, the past, the present, and the future. And every story, as you can understand from storytelling, has a flow to it. It begins somewhere, it has some characters, there's a plot, and there's an end. And you as a founder are telling the story of your industry, of your product, of your company, of yourself. This is the general flow, but you don't have to stick to the flow. As you've seen in many movies, like the Star Wars movie series, the story begins in episode number 4, then becomes 4, 5, 6, then it jumps back to 1, 2, 3, and then 7, 8, 9. So you can actually tell the story in multiple ways depending on who your audience is and what your message is going to be. First of all, let's define what is a story. Okay, this is one of the best official definitions I've seen of storytelling. Storytelling is the emotional transfer of information. It can be information about what you think, your product, your service, your idea, etc., through the introduction of a character, a plot, and a conclusion. Which means, in this case, you are the character, you are the founder. The plot is, here's what's happening in the industry, here's what's happening in the world, and this is what I want to do in this particular play. And ultimately, this is the conclusion. This is the end game. This is what I want to work towards. Okay. So this is the definition of storytelling. So some of the key words are, there's a flow. So there's a beginning, middle, end kind of thing. There's a character, there's a plot, and there's emotion. So these are the 4 key parts of storytelling, which you must embed in some way in your pitch to make it pitch perfect.
First question is from Rohit, and he's asking, what is the competition landscape analysis?
Competition landscape analysis is things like there already are some other products in the market out there. I'm different because of so and so. Or there were these products, but they did not do well because they did not meet these safety criteria. My new product has this particular thing. Or this is a completely white space, blue ocean market. I'm the first company in this particular space. That is competitive landscape analysis. You look at the space you're operating in. It can be a product, it can be a service, it can be a process. Who else is there in this space and what are their strengths in it? So are you a challenger brand attacking some of these bigger brands? So for example, the shoe market. There are all these big giant companies in there. But maybe there's a market for people who are making shoes for walking as compared to shoes for running. That was the Sketcher model. They looked at the whole competitive landscape and said, this is already taken care of. I found this small chink in the armor and I'm going to go for this particular niche segment. That is competitive landscape. Who is there? How much of the market they have, and what is the opening for me to come into this space?
As they say, while it is wise to learn from experience, it is best to learn from experience of others. As you embark on this journey, it would be best to learn from the champions themselves. So now I invite Mr. Vikram Iyer, co-founder and chief business officer of Soul Threads and the past winner of Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge 2021. Vikram, welcome.
I'll just take you through how we developed the pitch last year, right? We developed our pitch in terms of sort of 4 pillars, and this has been our flow consistently in terms of our pitches and our decks for different challenges that we partake in. The first pillar sort of has been about the brand and the product, of course, right? So it basically talks about who we are, why we got started, and how we got started, right? It talks about the market dynamics, similar to what Mr. Rawat also said, that you talk about the TAM and you figure about how you feature in that market. Also, in case you are, so for example, are you a new entrant? Are you entering a market that is already cluttered? Are you trying to organize a market? Your pitch will sort of it'll lay the language for the rest of your pitch. So it would be best. What we've done is we've sort of figured out what sets us apart, and that's how we start our pitch, right?
Can you share like 5 do's and don'ts for startups when they are approaching investors?
Sure. I think in terms of, I think maybe the do's, I think one is when you are approaching investors, I think it's important that you know that, maybe do some research on the investor also. Typically have a sense in terms of where do the investors come in. Like I said, we typically come in at a pre-series. There are other funds which will only come in at a series B or series C onward. So, do some background research in terms of, which funds you are approaching. And again, within that also, within the investors, typically you will see, I think most places you will get to know which boards, which partners are at. So get a sense in terms of which partner is active in which particular domain. Somebody may have a preference for a particular space within the in the investment philosophy of the brand. So I think that's something very important to understand. Also check that they don't have a conflicting investment in the segment in which you are playing, because most investors will not do conflicting investments. Even if, let's say, if I have a brand in my fund 2 or my fund 1, if something is clear conflict for me in that, in terms of what the incoming brand is doing, then typically the investor will not engage. I think get a sense of typically, where what the portfolio is and if it is a conflict. Apart from that, I think, it's what is very important is when you approach the investor, you have you have the story right in a very structured manner, because let's say typically you'll get maybe an hour and a half with any partner. So have your story, just make sure that it is there. You are able to articulate what you want to communicate in that 1 to 1.5 hours window which you have as the first discussion. I think that's something which is very critical. In terms of the don'ts, I would say, sometimes we see startups at a very early, in a very early stage of discussion start talking about valuations and all. I would say don't go there. I think more important is first to align on the business, that the fund is bought in, that they understand what you are doing, and then maybe jump into the commercials. It's maybe like a lot of decks I see, they mention, we are raising money at this valuation. I think that's not a good starting point. So I think first has to be a meeting of the minds, because I think the way you have to treat a investor relationship is almost like a quasi marriage, because you are going to work with an investor for some 5 to 7 years. So I think of from a long-term perspective and not so much a transactional perspective. In terms of, again, another don't, other thing, like I said, at least from our perspective, we look at capital efficient businesses and don't raise more capital than what you need, because you don't want to dilute too much upfront. I think at least we are strong believers in terms of creating value for the founders, so we don't like them to be diluting too much upfront and have significant skin in the game. The founders have, like if you look at across our portfolio brand.
Time for just one last question.
Yeah.
So here it is. What should startups expect in the next steps of the Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge?
I think there are certain parameters which have been laid out, in terms of how I think around which I think the panel will basically be shortlisting the startup for the next stage of this thing. I think, like I said, those 18 parameters which I mentioned, maybe you can just articulate the best you can. There is no fixed format to it, but if you can just touch upon the different areas so that the jury members can get a sense in terms of a broad idea in terms of what you are doing, for us to be able to decide which ones we would want to engage with further. Definitely it's a great platform for any startups to leverage. And if you think back maybe 10-15 years, any new age brand would have had to fight in the offline segment, but thanks to the different marketplaces and now even the Q-commerce piece coming up, the marketplaces is something which I think the startup should look to leverage. And of course, I think look forward to seeing the different pitches and engaging further.
The government is another player which supports the innovation and the startups extensively. We can always debate, but it is a fact that government is the primary enabler of any technology, any sector, or any geography. Whether it be through direct intervention, like by creating the infrastructure, road, railways, or building the utility services like electricity, gas, or it could be indirect interventions by way of policy or incentives. So it has been playing an active role, and it has been playing this role since independence itself. Like everyone must be aware that IITs were established in 1950s, and every few decades there has been a science and technology policy established by the government itself, and there have been a lot of work has been done. So there are primarily three areas that government has been supporting innovations. First is of course through regulatory measures, so making it easier for the innovation or the technology to proliferate, the innovative technologies based company to work on, because many times the traditional regulations might be binding for them, so it has been made easier. Of course, there is infrastructure development and capacity development taken care by the government. It definitely helps, because primary infrastructure that is required to develop a technology might be expensive but might not be readily available across India. So there are centers that have been created which provide free of cost access to these equipments or the technology enablers in those centers to the innovators and the entrepreneurs. And lastly, of course, by funding. So incentives by way of funds is definitely lucrative for anyone. So that is also being taken care of.
What is that one thing that you would like startup founders or anybody who wants to enter the startup ecosystem to keep in mind in terms of government initiatives? What should they look for?
So I think the only thing they should look for is the particular technology or the infrastructure they have developed for themselves to use in early years, whether it be validation or testing of this, because that is the most important part. Funding and everything comes secondary. If you do not have a good product itself, then it's pointless. Right. So there is incubators which provide very specific technical knowledge that is provided that may be helpful for any innovator. So they should target those incubators or the center of excellences. Right. So that would be most helpful for them.
Meanwhile, sir, any message for all our young startups?
I would suggest just focus on your product and technology itself rather than focusing on the schemes, because once your product is validated and accepted by market, there will be people coming to support you by themselves.
I think my experience has been great. This is the first time I have come on as jury with Amazon Smbhav. What I really liked about the whole event was that it was very well planned. Also, what was really impressive is the information that was sent prior to the event, so we knew we were well prepared, as well as the timelines maintained by the team, and the fact that the pitches were all so well planned. The founders were well prepped. I think it was very simple, but yet very comprehensive. I think that's another point I'd like to add, whether it was the whole, marking, the kind of allocations they were given each of the startups, very simple and self-explanatory, yet it covered every aspect, which it should be marked on. So I think, that's another feedback I'd like to add. So what I really liked about the startups that they came from varied backgrounds. It was a good mix. The biggest thing was the solution. It was not always about the founding team and everything, but it was also the solution and the impact that they were creating across the nation, and that is very, very important. And it can be challenging sometimes because these entrepreneurs are not used to the typical demo day format. But I think Amazon did a fabulous job in bringing them to this platform and actually giving them that exposure. I think the quality was very interesting, and in fact, we are evaluating some of them, at our end. These were completely startups which we've not seen before. So that was even more interesting. So I think the quality was great, and even the solutions that they brought to the table were brilliant. And there's a lot of potential to scale for them. They were all very well prepped, and they had all the information that, as an investor we look for. They were able to handle all the queries from all the jurors very well, very confidently. And they had all the information that we would want. Otherwise, usually at the end of a pitch, there are a lot of questions we need to pose. But, their pitches were also very precise and to the point. So it was, they were well prepped. So my experience as the first time as a jury panel, I think it was brilliant. And I look forward to many more.
Hi, I'm Riya Mazumdar-Singhal, CEO and founder of EcoWare. We created EcoWare to make the most sustainable packaging in the most ethical way. We use the waste of common agricultural crops such as wheat, rice, and sugarcane, and we convert it into packaging that is 100% natural, biodegradable, and compostable. EcoWare is India's first and largest sustainable food packaging company, and our range of compostable products include tableware, cutlery, and all sorts of packaging for the food and beverage industry. There are 3 things that make EcoWare unique. Number 1, EcoWare is an affordable, biodegradable, and compostable product that is made from 100% plant fiber, right? And it's naturally biodegradable. So if you don't have access to a compost pit or waste management or industrial composting facilities, and you've got access to a garden, all you have to do is dig a bit of soil, put the product in there, cover it with soil, and it breaks down naturally and converts into soil in a period of 90 days. The second thing is that we're out to make impact. So we create positive environmental, social, and health impact in every product that we produce and sell. Third is that we lead by example. So we maintain very strict quality and testing procedures and ensure that every claim that we make on our product is backed by a certification. I started this company in 2009, having moved to India, and I noticed how waste management was a huge problem. Everyone was consuming their food out of plastic, littering everywhere, and we wanted to change that. We wanted to create a healthier, safer alternative for humanity as well as for the environment. And that's what led us to start EcoWare. So we're 100% bootstrapped, and we've received 2 grants, 2 international grants in the last few years. And that's how we began. So when I started in 2009, no such product or industry existed in India, right? I went into, from a marketing perspective, I went into the wholesale markets in Delhi, and I understood what tableware products were being sold in high demand in plastic and styrofoam. We decided to use 100% plant fiber, so like I had mentioned earlier, agricultural waste, and we wanted to use that to create a better alternative of what already sold. So we picked 2-3 products. We commissioned our first production unit in 2010. We started as a bit of an experiment. We were a 20 people team. And we may have started with about 2-3 products to begin with, to see if the consumers and the market even wanted something like this. I can tell you 13 years in that we now have over 40 different products. We operate across the country from Kashmir all the way down to Kerala. We are also present in 16 countries globally. And we work with a whole array of customers, from the Indian Railways to the airlines to quick service restaurants. We retail as well. And now, as we move forward, we're looking forward to supporting other industries such as the e-commerce industry, the fashion industry, and FMCG to help them reduce their plastic footprint as well. Some of the largest challenges that we have faced is one, which has been education and awareness, right? When we started, none of our stakeholders understood what biodegradable meant, what compostable meant. There weren't even industry standards, to sort of help. And we, like I had mentioned, we started much before any sort of Clean India campaigns. So we've engaged a lot with community, with all our stakeholders, to make people more aware of the better choices that they need to be making as individuals, as a community, and as businesses. The second is certainly gender. I think being a woman entrepreneur has not been easy, but and starting a business at the age of 27. Don't forget that we've created an industry that never existed before. So to bring in a brand new product, a brand new concept, a price point, and convince generational traders that they should ditch plastic, and businesses as well, and just try something new has certainly been a challenge. But I think that moving forward, one of the challenges that we do face remains education and awareness, because we are 1.8 billion people. And to really create a mass movement to ditch the plastic, we need to have everyone engaged. We're really proud of the impact that we've created in our journey. For every dollar invested in EcoWare, there is a $2.5 return. We've created threefold impact. So from an environmental perspective, we've displaced over 1 billion pieces of single-use plastic. 100% of our revenue is derived from a circular economy model. From a social perspective, we've created an industry that never existed before, which simply means that we have created employment, direct and indirect. Our team is over 120 people, out of which 30% are women. And from a health perspective, we have fewer people eating out of plastic. We're really proud of the powerhouse of innovation that we are. We currently have over 40 different SKUs in our F&B range, and we're now innovating with other industries to help them reduce their plastic footprint as well. Our mission in the world is to replace as much single-use plastic as possible, right? We know that it is now a global problem, and we wish to be that global solution. We have an affordable product, a scalable product, and we want to get as much of it out there because we know that it's good for people and the planet. And I just want to also talk a little bit about what sustainability means to me. Sustainability, I think, is a term that's used very loosely. Personally, to me, it means intergenerational well-being, which, when you dig a little deeper, means that we meet our own needs without harming those of the future generation. And that's honestly the mission that we're at with EcoWare. We want to safeguard people and planet, and the exciting part of scaling what we do is scaling our impact. So protecting people, protecting planet, creating more employment, and just more value for everyone. My advice would be, don't worry about being successful, but work towards being significant, and the success will naturally follow. I think entrepreneurs deserve as much support as possible, because I think they're solving for the most pressing problems that we face today. When the rest of the world sees something, they may see a problem, but when entrepreneurs look at the very same thing, they see solutions, and because they care about what they're looking at, their actions create impact. And I would say for any of the entrepreneurs out there, if please keep sustainability at the core of your decision making. And if you've got an idea, go out there and try it, because the biggest injustice is not trying.
Hi all, I'm Prachi. I'm one of the co-founders and brand director at T-Box. What I do at T-Box is I look after the entire brand experience, including packaging, website, and the entire communication to the consumers. So that's what I do at T-Box. So we're a premium Indian tea company with a vision to put Indian teas on global map. The way we do this is we disseminate almost 5 to 6 different distribution channels in between. We procure directly from the Indian tea growing regions and bring it directly to the consumer within 1 to 2 weeks of its making. We intend to be the one-stop solution for all tea needs and for all tea lovers, right from single estate buyers to chai to green and to single blends. One of the most unique thing about T-Box is its freshness journey. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean is that when the teas are manufactured, our team is actually there to sample the teas. Out of probably 50, 60 teas that the estates manufacture, they bring out the best again to the facility, where it goes through a tasting panel or a quality check with almost 3 to 4 different tea experts. Post which, if it makes into the tea box catalog, the teas are brought within 24 to 48 hours of its manufacturing into a dehumidified facility. Now, why dehumidified facility, you may ask? Tea is hygroscopic, tea is hygroscopic in nature, and you need to save it from light, heat, oxygen and moisture, which is why we kind of maintain a certain temperature within our facility to ensure that the freshness of the tea is not lost. Post which we immediately bulk vacuum pack it and store it in cold storage. After which we take them in small batches, hand sorted for impurities like husk, dry grass, bangles, etc. And then they are being graded. Now, grading is also a thing that we do because we do not want our customers to have dust or brokens or fannings. We only want them to experience a whole leaf tea experience. And then once all of this is done, it's then vacuum packed into small bricks. It's the way we give it out to the consumers as a form of our packaging. So this entire thing that we do with tea is what makes Tea Box teas very fresh. And this is one of the most unique things that we do at Tea Box. So what led to Kaushal starting Tea Box back in 2013 was the fact that the Indian tea industry had not pretty much changed from the last 200 years. It was just the way the Britishers had left it. There was not a single homegrown brand at a global level, apart from the Tatas and the Unilevers, of course, but no one who could sell single estate teas. Like no one in India would know of what a oolong or a white tea is, or a muscatel from Darjeeling is. It's like mangoes. People really do not know the best mangoes that come from India because they're all exported. So when Kaushal saw this, since he's gone and brought up in Siliguri, he saw this very close hand, and he felt that there was a need to kind of bring everything back to the source, where about 3.5 million pluckers or people are daily living on tea as an industry as such. So the entire idea of, again, to bring Indian teas to the global level was the thought again, and that led to us starting Tea Box. In the initial years, we were totally and completely bootstrapped. We had invested almost 15 to 20 lakhs of our own savings. It was, later we found partners who really gelled with what vision and what drive we had to, with the brand, and they really thought they should be coming in. And that's when we were very fortunate enough to have partners like Excel who did our seed round. Apart from that, for the first time in the D2C space, we also had our own customers turn into investors because they really loved what we did. And that was how it was all done. When I married Kaushal, I only knew of CTC. I knew only of chai. And when he would talk to me about yellow, purple, oolong, white, I would be like, no, there's no such tea that exists. But what I have seen from then on to, almost 6-8 years now, I think the world back then and the world back today is just so poles apart. When we started off, people made fun that how would you sell tea online? It's not a product that could be sold online. But today we see everything being sold online, and people are very, very open to be buying and experimenting. And that's the kind of audience also we've built. Like, one of the things that I always keep saying is I've always heard of people only drink chai or only drink coffee earlier on when we were growing up. And there were two clear sects, from that perspective. But today the same audience is drinking everything under the roof. He's also enjoying a good coffee. At the same time, he's also enjoying a very premium single estate tea from, say, Darjeeling, for example. And he also needs his 1 cup of chai when he gets up in the morning. So that's so much the diversity from when we started to where I see us today, at least from a very tea perspective. The mindset that we had to, and one of the challenges that we actually had to face was the education side of it. Like educating people on what is premium tea, what is whole leaf, what is the difference between dust and whole leaf, why do you have to consume fresh teas? So, because, every time we get this question that They are selling it at 25. Why are you selling it at 35? They don't know, or rather it's very difficult for us to kind of really explain to them that what we bring is poles apart from what you're actually consuming. Today we are over 121 plus countries and have shipped about 5 billion cups to happy customers all across the globe. The purpose is that we want to bring value back to the source, and bring a lot of opportunities and a platform for a lot of people that who work really hard at the Indian tea industry. That's how we want to really look at, and not just disruption in a very negative way, but actually disrupt in a very positive way. One thing I have seen, and this is not coming, it's coming from a very humble space, that I've seen a lot of tea brands into this space really trying to emulate us, or I don't want to use the word copy, but exactly doing that. I would really encourage anyone and everyone to do it very purposefully and right from the soul, because if you don't do it from that intention, it's actually going to give you away, because your messaging, everything is not going to be in sync with what you claim that you are saying, because you've just copied someone else's purpose or vision or mission. So whatever you do it from heart and give it your best. It has honestly been a very great experience. I've always been busy doing one thing after the other at Teabox. It has given me that, little bit of pause that we say, because of all the probing questions that you guys had given me to kind of really set back and ponder over it all over again. So from that, yes, it was a beautiful experience for me.
This is Dipanjan. I'm Dipanjan Purkasa, co-founder and CEO of Newbox, the D2C brand of HyperExchange, and I have with me Satanik.
Hi, I'm Shautabik. I'm the co-founder of Newbox, a D2C brand of HyperExchange.
Newbox as a concept is all about providing access to our consumers planet-friendly gadgets at a pocket-friendly price. So the idea is to provide affordable, refurbished products, electronics which are as good as new, but while doing that, provide a climate positive action for our consumers. That's what Newbox has been focused on. There are three things that make us unique. One is the fact that we're essentially structuring a very, very large and dominant grey market. This market, the refurbished electronics, recycled e-waste market, has been predominantly grey for the longest time, and it's companies like Newbox who's basically now making it more structured and bringing the kind of service promise, the kind of product quality, and the kind of relationship management that customers want in any consumer experience that they seek today. They would want customers who want that, and these basic elements were missing, before companies like us came to the scene. So that's number one. Second, we bring our own unique IP to the process. Now, we are the only company globally that has the hardware platform called Faraday available, which lets you diagnose products, value products, which means you price the products and know what kind of price to offer these products, and then also update our refurbishment centers on what kind of spares is required. So this completely, we've experienced that this actually crushes our turnaround time by almost 1/3. So that's a 33% advantage in not only turnaround time but also a very significant uptick in margin, because we are able to figure out what kind of raw material to say yes and what kind of raw material to say no to, right? So that's the second part. The third part is that we've observed that most of these markets work in silos. So there's specific geography-based, city-based silos that these work in, and we are now building a global supply chain around this. So we have scaled this business over the last a little over 5 years in India to become one of the leaders in the space, and now we're looking globally to expand these best practices and make a global play while maintaining an India-based low-cost refurbishment capacity. It's very similar to what the software guys folks did with IT outsourcing. Newbox is doing the same thing with hardware outsourcing, where we're sourcing these products from globally, refurbishing them in the low cost, high technician value, location of India, and then selling them globally again.
HyperXchange was started in 2016, and incidentally, it is a startup out of my college dorm room. I was doing my engineering back then, third year of my engineering. I am a mechanical engineer by my education, and just like any other mechanical engineer, CAD and CAM are the things we grew up with. And just like any other college student, I mean, we don't have deep pockets. We were looking for alternate options, right? The only alternate options available to me were the GAFAR markets or the Lamington routes of the world. That seemed to be the clear opportunity out there. When we made a little study, we realized, back in 2016, this was a $25 billion market, an unstructured gray market with a $25 billion opportunity, right? That was the trigger that made us realize we can structure this market, we can create a brand out of it. This could be a huge, game changer down the line.
Honestly, we didn't raise funds from get-go. In fact, we raised very little funds in this company so far. And that has been by design rather than default. So initially, we got, funded, we got incubated by Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. So we got incubated there, and then we got a first round of funding from CP Gurnani, he's a CEO and Managing Director of Tech Mahindra. He sits on the Mahindra Group board, and he was very impressed with the model. The Mahindra Group works on a similar model in the second-hand car market called Mahindra First Choice, and they clearly felt there's parallels here that we could learn from. And we love to have a person of that stature and that visibility onto the team. So that was actually the only round of fund we raised as a seed fund. And the journey, the start of the journey was very important. The diversity of the team, the founding team that got together. I mean, we have a very diverse founding team with Satanik in his 20s, Ashish in his 30s, and I'm in my 40s. So we brought a wealth of experience plus creativity. It was a balance of that. So we decided right up front that we would like to bootstrap the company in the beginning till we were able to discover the unit pricing, discover the product market. We find that there's a meat on that, and then we can go and raise funds. So we bootstrapped and we scaled the business with our own fund. In fact, around 2018, we onboarded our first investor.
Major challenges that we faced while we transitioned from a dorm room startup to being India's fastest growing top 100 companies and top 500 companies in Asia Pacific today, were creating a trust out there in the market. How did we overcome it? By creating a brand around it, by providing services which created the trust and the fact that we became the industry first to provide 12 months doorstep warranty as one of the processes out there, right? So there were multiple things which were industry first, and the other biggest challenge we faced was, though this industry existed for decades and a long time, there was no brand out there in this market. That really made us create the entire playbook, how to create this market, an unstructured grey market of electronics. How do we structure that? How do we create a brand out of it?
Today, HyperXchange, launched the Newbox D2C brand. If you look at HyperXchange journey, today we are one of the top players in the Indian ecosystem. As Satanik was mentioning earlier, we have got a lot of credibility from the market. Retailers Association of India, which is a premier association for retailers in the country, made us the startup of the year. In 2020, in 2021, Forbes magazine listed Satanik as their 30 under 30, not just in India, but also in Asia Pac. So he's one of the few Indians who got that honor. This year, Economic Times listed us among the top 100 fastest growing companies in India. And at the same time, Financial Times in UK listed us among the top 500 fastest growing companies in Asia Pac. So I think we are at a pole position today in India, and I think it's the great place for us to dive into global leadership play for next year.
Future is creating an impact which is climate positive and going for a net zero carbon emission by 2030, right? We also sell mobile phones.
Three things to share. First, I think whether you're a startup, and there are a lot of definitions for this, or whatever kind of startup, there are lots of names that float around these days, but fundamentally it's a business. So figure out the business part of your business first. That's number one. Everything else will come later. Get the foundations correct. Number two, one of the things that we want to give our investors is FOMO, but that's the last thing you want to get for yourself. So don't get this irrational fear of missing out, do everything that everybody else is doing, while everybody else is trying to build a story, get a lot of stuff, and that might be right for them. For you, do what is right for you. Don't do it because somebody else is doing it, because you got to be somewhere or to be seen somewhere. No. Get your stuff that is priority for you, focus on those priorities and understand what those priorities are. That's number two. Number three, raise money, bring investors to your table, and it's always better I am always been a supporter of having a smaller slice of a larger pie than owning a very little small pie for yourself. Having said that, be very careful who you bring to the table with you, because this is a dance that's long term for you. Don't do it in haste. Don't do it because you love to raise a bunch of funds right now, and a lot of funds are available in the market and people are potentially throwing it to you. Understand this money is not going to you, it's going to your business, and you need a partner who understands or appreciates you as an investor and as a business partner, which means they'll allow you to spread your wings and fly, fulfilling the dreams that you have.
Amazon has always been part of the hyper-exchange and the new box growth story since the early days, be it the marketplace sales or the AWS, right? We have always been part of Amazon ecosystem by some part or the other. And today, being part of Amazon Smbhav as the top 5 startups out there, this seems to be a complete circle within our 5.5 years of a journey. I wish all the best to all the startups out there. I completely realize the ecosystem that Amazon has created because of the endeavors in the Indian market all throughout its startup ecosystem. We are looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having us over here once again.
My name is Praveen. I graduated from IIT Delhi in mathematics and computing. After that, I joined Stanford India Biodesign program, where I met Ashutosh. Ashutosh is my co-founder and a mechanical engineer, and we are solving the problem for blood diagnostics. Today, we live in a world where groceries are delivered in 10 minutes. But when it comes to healthcare, we have to wait for days or maybe even weeks to even get the basic blood test like CBC and malaria. So at Neuralix, we are building a small portable diagnostic device which is using artificial intelligence so that even at the remotest center of India has the access for faster and more accurate diagnostics. So early diagnostics not only save lives but also reduces cost and burden of tertiary health.
Our device, which is a very portable and robust, which can sit anywhere in the world, and this can even sit in the villages in rural areas in our country, which can save millions of lives. And it only takes 2 drops of blood to generate a diagnosis report.
So we have more than 1 billion population, and we have absolutely roughly 20,000 pathologists who are actually available. So there's an absolute necessity for such intelligent platforms which can be deployed at, say, primary health centers, so that we can serve even the people at the bottom of the pyramid, and so that they're not just left out.
We started as a fellows in Stanford India Biodesign. So in that we get funding for our initial prototype development and also like validation of that. And then after that we also got a DBT PIRAC fund of $70,000 for our initial product development. So that way we were able to start this venture.
I graduated from IIT Delhi. My first company as a startup I started while I was in college itself, but wanted to understand more in depth of what healthcare is all about and how what are the problems and how it can be solved. And as pointed out by Ashutosh, we met at Stanford India Biodesign where it all started. So we found out that there is a major challenge in healthcare, particularly in diagnostics. And given he had his own experience into building product, I had my own experience building software and AI. So great combination. and then we started all together, and now here we are.
So there are many challenges. So like the one thing that I remember prominently is like when we started. So when we just started, so that was in 2020, and that time like this pandemic happened, and like so it was very difficult for us to source components and parts to build our prototype and validate the prototype, even because we can go out and we cannot also like import anything or get any component from anywhere. So that way we had to like, that was a big challenge for us to like go ahead and build something out of nowhere. So but then like how did we overcome that is something like we had to go to different repair shops and medical device where they like kind of throw these machines, right? So we had to go there and like kind of source components from these equipments and then make a prototype, and that really worked well for us. And then we kind of use those components to raise our next funding round.
Particularly in medical device, any product has to go through a lot of validation. So, and also you need to have certain patents and IP in place. So if you actually look at our journey, we have already filed a patent, we have already received a grant. Our clinical trials, so as to say, is already started at AIIMS, New Delhi. And so in the next journey, so as to in this particular journey, the next milestone would be to publish that particular data that we are generating right now and going for CDSU approval. And hopefully by in next 12 months or so, we would see the first commercial device sitting at a peripheral center doing its job.
At Neuronix, we believe that with technology, so there are so many challenges in healthcare, right, in our country and in the world. And with technology, we can meet those challenges. So our mission is to build the next generation of diagnostic device using advanced neural networks and advanced photonics, and then deploy them to masses, so that can be accessible to even the bottom of the pyramid of our country.
I would say two things: patience and persistence. If you have that two quality, then I think you are going to excel, particularly in healthcare industry. So it has been a great experience. One, amazing people, and we who conducted amazing workshops. And apart from that, I would love to engage. The journey does not end here. We would be more than happy to connect and see how we can take it further.
बिजनेस एनर्जी एक फ्यूल सेविंग के ऊपर काम किया है और वाटर सेविंग, दोनों में सेविंग के पार्ट्स हैं। और जो पहले कंडेंस वाटर वेस्ट होता था और हीट वेस्ट होता, इसी के ऊपर इसने काम करके स्टार्टअप को आगे किया। इसके
जो कंप्लीट अपना इंडस्ट्रियल और अपना नॉर्मल जो फूड इंडस्ट्री प्रोसेसिंग में है, उनमें जो वाटर और फ्यूल वेस्ट होता था, जैसे पहले वाटर 90% वेस्ट होता था, लेकिन अपने प्रोडक्ट से इसमें 90% प्लस वाटर सेविंग आई है कंप्लीट। ऐसे ही फ्यूल सेविंग में 30 से 50% आई। इसी स्टार्टअप को अपन ने आगे बढ़ाया।
आज तक जितना भी इंडस्ट्रीज है उसमें एक कंडेंस वाटर, उसमें सभी इंडस्ट्रीज में ये वेस्ट है, लेकिन अपन जो भी इंडस्ट्रीज में इसको डालते हैं उसमें इसको हीट रिकवरी सिस्टम से इसको फीड करते हैं लगभग 120 से और 140 डिग्री फीड वाटर टेम्परेचर। तो और सभी से अलग है, और सभी में लगभग 80 डिग्री 90 डिग्री फीड होता है, वो भी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से फीड होता है। ये जो सबसे बिल्कुल अलग है।
जो जैसे भी जो अदर पहले जो बॉयलर बनते थे, बॉयलर या हीट एक्सचेंजर बनते थे, जिसमें क्या होता था कि जो उनका वेस्ट है ना, वो ही अपने इक्विपमेंट के लिए एक इनपुट है, रॉ मटेरियल है वो एक तरह से, और उसी से एनर्जी सेविंग भी है। एक अपन 30 से 40 डिग्री से लेकर 90 डिग्री तक का पानी फीड करें, उसको 120 डिग्री तक लेके जाएं, एक 90 डिग्री को 120 डिग्री तक लेके जाएं, इससे अपने फ्यूल सेविंग बहुत ज्यादा हो रही है और वाटर सेविंग एक क्लोज सर्किट में चल रहा है, तो वाटर बिल्कुल वेस्ट नहीं हो पा रहा है। पहले वाले इक्विपमेंट में वाटर कंप्लीट वेस्ट हो जाता था, अपन को नया वाटर फीड करना पड़ता था, लेकिन अपने में वो ही वाटर रिसाइकल होकर चलता है पूरा।
पर इसमें जहाँ भी हमने देखा है, जो भी इंडस्ट्रीज में फूड प्रोसेस में देखा, इसमें फ्यूल बहुत ज्यादा वेस्ट जा रहा था। तो हमने देखा इसमें तो 50 से और 80%, 30% अलग इंडस्ट्रीज में फ्यूल सेव हो रहा है। तो ये सोच के हमने इस काम को आगे और इस कंपनी जीनियस एनर्जी नाम देके और आगे स्टार्ट किया फिर इसको।
जैसे फ्यूल तो सेव हो ही हुआ, लेकिन जो वाटर की शॉर्टेज सबसे बड़ी है, वाटर शॉर्टेज इंडिया में बहुत होने वाली है आगे, तो इसको क्यों ना हम इस वाटर को 90% सेव किया जाए, वो की एक बहुत बड़ी चीज है। इसलिए हमने इस स्टार्टअप को आगे बढ़ाया, जो कि पहले हो नहीं पा रहा था किसी से, तो इसलिए अपन ने इस स्टार्टअप को आगे बढ़ाया और वाटर सेविंग भी 90% लेके गए कंप्लीट।
तो स्टार्ट में तो ऐसा कोई फंडिंग नहीं मिला, एक डेयरी उद्योग था मेरे पास, उससे सिर्फ 5,000 से ओनली 5 लीटर का स्टीम बॉयलर से हमने इसको क्लोज सर्किट में इंडस्ट्री डेवलप किया था, बेबी बॉयलर से, और उसी से स्टार्ट होते आज 5,000 से लेकर के और 50 लाख के प्रोडक्ट आज तैयार होने लग गए।
कंप्लीट एक छोटा सा डेयरी उद्योग था सर के पास, जो डेयरी उद्योग उसी से जो उसकी जो बचत आती थी उसी को बचत को सर इंडस्ट्री इस स्टार्टअप में लगाते थे और नए प्रोडक्ट बना के सेल करते थे। उसके मार्जिन से फिर धीरे धीरे आगे बढ़ते रहे पूरा।
मैं 11th में था और 11th तक किया तो एक कैलिक प्लान का कथन था कि ऐसा इंजन बनना असंभव या कोई डिवाइस जिसके एग्जॉस्ट से निकली हुई गैस या वाष्प कभी एनर्जी में कन्वर्ट नहीं हो सकती। तो बस उसी समय सर मुझे लगा ये तो मैं ऑलरेडी पहले कर चुका था, 1984, 85, 86 के आसपास में ये कर चुका था, तो ऑलरेडी हो सकती है। तो फिर उसी समय मैंने पढ़ाई छोड़ी और डेयरी उद्योग, इसमें मैंने क्यों पैसे भी चाहिए तो डेयरी उद्योग का मैंने काम स्टार्ट किया और मैं उसी काम में लग गया। धीरे धीरे 2004 से लेकर 2011 तक मैं लगभग 98% वाटर सेविंग और 50% फ्यूल सेविंग पे मैं पहुंच गया था। और निकली हुई गैस एग्जॉस्ट से गैस या जो वेस्ट है वो ज़्यादा 50% मैंने उसको रिकवर किया या हीट एक्सचेंज करके इसको फ्यूल सेविंग में और 98% वाटर सेविंग इसमें दिया है। सर इसे प्रॉब्लम यही था कि मेरा प्रोडक्ट जहाँ भी चला गया वहाँ पर क्या हुआ कि जैसे मैंने बीकानेर में प्रोडक्ट डाल दिया एक प्रोडक्ट, तो उसी समय एक प्रोडक्ट गया लेकिन ऑर्डर से एक साथ 10 आ गए, तो हम उसको कभी फिल नहीं कर पाए। आज भी हमारे साथ वही हो रहा है कि ऑर्डर के प्रोडक्शन के हिसाब से ऑर्डर ज़्यादा है और प्रोडक्शन कम है।
लेकिन जो अगर स्टार्टिंग के अपन चैलेंजेस की बात करें तो स्टार्टिंग में सबसे बड़ा एक चैलेंज था कि कोई विश्वास नहीं कर पाता था कि ऐसा रिकवरी सिस्टम भी हो सकता है कि अपन को बॉयलर में या जो हीट एक्सचेंजर सिस्टम है उसमें एक बार पानी डालना पड़े। लेकिन ऐसे आज से पहले कभी हुआ नहीं था क्योंकि सब जो वेस्ट निकल जाता था पूरा 80 से 90% पूरा स्टीम होती थी, वेस्ट निकल जाती थी, नया पानी फीड करना पड़ता था। लेकिन अपने सिस्टम में वही रिसाइकल सिस्टम था पूरा कंप्लीट, तो विश्वास नहीं करते थे लोग। लेकिन स्टार्टिंग में हमें कुछ लोगों के अपन को ऐसा करना पड़ा कि अपन को कुछ प्लांट एक एज ए डेमो लगाने पड़े, उसके बाद में उनको पेमेंट लेना पड़ा हमें। उनको विश्वास नहीं हो पा रहा था उस लोगों को। फिर बाद में जैसे उनको फ्यूल सेविंग और वाटर सेविंग लगी, फिर वो ही बंदे हमारी मार्केटिंग कर रहे हैं कि सर आप उनसे प्रोडक्ट लीजिए, ऐसा हो सकता है। तो हमें जो डोर टू डोर जो मार्केटिंग थी वो सबसे मुश्किल पर चैलेंजेस था सर स्टार्टिंग का, लोगों को विश्वास दिलाना कि हाँ ये प्रोडक्ट ऐसा है। जीनियस एनर्जी को फ्यूल सेविंग और वाटर सेविंग में हम देखा जाए तो हम बहुत ऊपर देखते हैं, क्योंकि ऐसी अभी इंडस्ट्री डेवलप हो ही नहीं पाई है जो कंप्लीट इतना फ्यूल सेविंग और वाटर सेविंग दे सके, जो कि देश के लिए एक सबसे बड़ी समस्या है। फ्यूल सेविंग और वाटर सेविंग ये करना बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि वरना आगे की जनरेशन के लिए बहुत बड़ी दिक्कत आने वाली है। ये अगर नहीं किया गया तो ये बहुत बड़ी दिक्कत हो जाएगी। इसलिए जो अपनी कंपनी है हम उसको बहुत ऊपर देखते हैं इस चीज के लिए, और आज इसी चीज का एक टर्नओवर है अपना, वो भी अच्छा खासा टर्नओवर स्टार्ट हो चुका है। और आगे हम देख रहे हैं कि हम इससे 10 गुना बढ़ा सके अगले 2 से 3 साल में इस चीज को हम, ये हमारा इस टाइम मार्केट बेस।
और सभी इंडस्ट्रीज में ये लग सकता है, कोई भी इंडस्ट्रीज हो जो स्टीम यूज कर रहा हो तो इंडस्ट्रीज उन सभी
जो अपना सर आगे का इस कंपनी का मिशन है, सबसे बड़ा मिशन है इंडस्ट्रियल सेक्टर को टारगेट करना। जैसे टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री है, केमिकल इंडस्ट्री है, इन इंडस्ट्रीज में हीट एक्सचेंजर बहुत ज्यादा यूज होते हैं। जैसे इनमें जो स्टीम होती है तो स्टीम बहुत यूज होती है, जो कि फिर बाद में वो एक जगह वेस्ट चला जाता है। हम अपना प्रोडक्ट वहां लगा के उसमें उनकी हीट सेव कर सकते हैं, और जिससे अपना फ्यूल और वाटर दोनों सेव होगा। तो जो मेन अपना टारगेट है वो फार्मा इंडस्ट्री, केमिकल इंडस्ट्री, टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री, जो बड़ी इंडस्ट्रीज हैं वो अपना टारगेट है अभी। सबसे बड़ी चीज तो एक है जो है मार्केट अपने पास बहुत है, लेकिन एक डिमांड जो पूरी करना है, एक नई यूनिट डालना। जैसे अपन ने अभी अपनी पहले एक यूनिट थी, लेकिन अभी हमने एक यूनिट और नई डाली है, जो कि अपन अभी देख पाएंगे। अपन ने नई यूनिट डाली है कि मार्केट जो डिमांड है वो पूरी नहीं हो पा रही है हमसे। सबसे बड़ी चीज ये है, जिससे क्या होता है फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम भी होती है कि एक फाइनेंशियल एक सेटअप नए स्टार्ट करने के लिए, पूरी नई यूनिट स्टार्ट करने के लिए एक फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम भी होती है, मार्केट प्रॉब्लम भी होती है और अदर प्रॉब्लम्स भी होती हैं। तो अगर कोई हमारे साथ जुड़ना चाहे और जो आगे बढ़ना चाहे तो ये एक टारगेट रहेगा कि नई यूनिट डालना, अदर जगह पे डालना। क्योंकि हम राजस्थान से सप्लाई करते हैं, उसमें भी एक लिमिट हो जाती है कि यहाँ तक सप्लाई हो सकता है। कुछ कस्टमर होते हैं अगर वहीं उनको यूनिट मिल जाए तो ज्यादा आसानी रहती है उनके लिए।
सर अच्छी बात, अगर कोई नया स्टार्टअप करना चाहिए, आज इस प्रोडक्ट की कम से कम 50 से 100 पीस का प्रोडक्शन पर डे हो तो ही हम इसे ओनली इंडिया में हम इसका ओनली वो असेंबलिंग कर सकते हैं या इसके प्रोडक्ट हम डेवलप कर सकते हैं। अकेले से तो आज इंडस्ट्री इतना तो नहीं कर सकती, बड़ी 15 या 20 पीस का ही इस 1-2 साल में हम इसका प्रोडक्शन कर सकते हैं।
सर एक्चुअली जो नया स्टार्टअप है, अगर कोई करना चाहे तो एक बहुत अच्छी चीज होगी देश के लिए भी कि फ्यूल सेविंग और वाटर सेविंग के ऊपर कोई नया काम किया जाए। तो लेकिन उसका जो सबसे बड़ा टारगेट होना चाहिए वो है बड़ी इंडस्ट्रीज वगैरह जिसकी डिमांड अपन हम पूरी ना कर पाए, वो अगर पूरी कर पाए तो बहुत अच्छी बात होगी देश के लिए कि पूरा वाटर सेविंग और एनर्जी सेविंग पे काम किया जाए, जिससे अपना एनवायरनमेंट को बहुत ज्यादा फायदा हो।
इस इमेजन में हमारे टॉप 5 का ना एक बहुत अच्छा लगा और इसके तहे दिल से आपको धन्यवाद है। और इस टॉप 5 आने से ज़्यादा नहीं, 2-3 दिन में पता नहीं कैसे क्या हुआ, लगभग 10 से 15 लाख के ऑर्डर्स भी नए इसी टाइप से आ गए, जो अभी तक नहीं हुआ है फिलहाल, जो तो 3-4 दिन में ही आ गए।
ऐसा क्या हुआ कि जो अमेजोन ने जो एक स्टार्ट किया है कि 20% है जो वोटिंग के थ्रू जज किया जाएगा, इस वोटिंग की वजह से हम अपने पुराने कस्टमर्स के कांटेक्ट में आए। जो पुराने कस्टमर थे, कुछ कस्टमर थे जो हमसे लैग हो गए थे, इस हम उनके कांटेक्ट में आए वापसी वोटिंग की वजह से। हम पूरा धन्यवाद देना चाहेंगे अमेजोन को इस बात का। उनसे जैसे ही कांटेक्ट में आए तो उनको कुछ नया ऑर्डर देना था, कुछ नया, तो उन्होंने फिर हमें नया ऑर्डर दिया। तो इस वजह से भी हम एक मार्केट बेस पे भी हम उनको एक धन्यवाद देना चाहेंगे। और जो एक एक्सपीरियंस है, जो एक सम्मान दिया है, वो एक बहुत बड़ा है हमारे लिए। तो 5 में आना भी एक बहुत बड़ी बात है सर।
मैं यही कह सकता हूँ कि कोई भी कार्य कठिन नहीं है और कोई भी प्रोडक्ट या कोई भी इनोवेशन कठिन नहीं होता। कोई भी इनोवेशन अगर फेल होता है वही सक्सेस है, फेल होगा तो ही सक्सेस है। और उसी से अपन को बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि, एक इनोवेशन फेल होने से उसमें कई इनोवेशन निकलते हैं और उसमें लगातार काम करना चाहिए, हमें सफलता अवश्य मिलेगी।
एक सबसे बड़ी चीज है कि कोई भी, जैसे किसी को फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट नहीं होती, किसी को अदर सपोर्ट नहीं होती, अगर उसके पास आइडिया है और वो काम करना चाहता है तो रास्ते अपने आप बनते जाते हैं, रास्ते ढूंढने पड़ते हैं, रास्ते ढूंढते हैं तो रास्ते निकलते हैं। जैसे सर ने इस इनोवेशन पे काम करना था, लेकिन उन्होंने क्या किया कि साइड बाई बिजनेस एक डेयरी प्रोडक्ट का बिजनेस निकाला। जैसे उन्होंने डेयरी की, उससे जो उसकी जो बचत आती थी उन्होंने इनोवेशन में लगाई और अपने इनोवेशन को, अपना टारगेट कभी नहीं भूले, वो टारगेट को आगे लेके गए और आज जीनियस एनर्जी इस मुकाम पे खड़ी है।
We had a really awesome year last year on Amazon as a platform, and I would highly recommend the Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge to all young companies and SMEs, because it really is a way for Amazon to support your young business. And there are so many ways that we have worked together better with Amazon in this year, be it from telling our story, from the way that they have helped us share our message, from the way their teams have supported us in our growth journey. It's definitely something that every company should consider doing if they sell online.
It's a validation, right? It's you get a validation saying that, look, we put ourselves out there and somebody else also sort of recognizes our efforts, right? And of course, there is also a lot of connects that you can build post, because you get recognized, your brand gets out there, people start connecting with you, and it helps put your brand into different circuits, whether the VC circuits or any other circuits. So I think that really helps.
Hello everyone, my name is Kamal Singh. I am the founder and managing partner of Fireside Ventures. We are an early stage venture capital firm which focuses entirely on helping build digital first consumer brands. It's been a very exciting journey in the last 5 years, and we have seen the emergence of digital brands and also the ecosystem for building these exciting new age brands really mature in the last 5 years. Our learnings are really around 2 or 3 important phenomena which I would like to share. First of all, how do you leverage the ecosystem better? We have seen our companies like Mamaearth, Goat, Yoga Bar, Kapiva, etc. create very strong brands using platforms like Amazon, their own websites, and more the new age opportunities, platforms like quick commerce players, Swiggy, Instamart, etc. Second, we have seen a very strong consumer pull towards brands which are offering better for you, healthier products. So therefore, it's a great time to be an entrepreneur in these exciting times and ability to build exciting brands. We are proud of our association with Amazon. We believe that it's been a great journey together, and we see ourselves working together for many years to come. We have been also proud members of the Amazon Smbhav program for the last 2 years. So on behalf of Amazon and on behalf of Fireside, I would thank you all for participating in this very exciting program. It's a great platform for helping budding entrepreneurs to grow their businesses even further. Also would like to congratulate you, the 5 winners of the Amazon Smbhav Entrepreneurship Challenge. Hope all of you will join us tomorrow to celebrate these winners and for the conclusion of this program. Thank you very much.